Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am NIK NIKAM. In this presentation, we are going to look at Amazon stock technical analysis and try to understand where it stands. During the coronavirus pandemic, in the early months, Amazon was a darling stock, going faster than any other stock in the Nasdaq 100. In fact, Amazon peaked at $3,547 on September 2, 2020. Since that time, the Amazon stock has been going sideways, or I would say a sort of a correction for the last 5 months or more. So what is happening? As we know, the Amazon's main business is, of course, online sales, which has truly enjoyed the lockdowns and restrictions of business functions all across the country. In addition to that, it also has the cloud service, which is generating more than 60% of its income in the last few years. The cloud function will continue to grow, but the cloud function really took off after the coronavirus pandemic shut down all businesses and moved people into their homes with remote computing, which greatly increased the need for cloud storage and cloud services. Keeping those things in mind, let's look at the stock prices. In fact, here we have the Nasdaq 100 triple Q plotted against Amazon stock, and as you can see, this is the April, which is the beginning of the recovery after the coronavirus pandemic hit the United States. As you can see, it is going like a rocket in the first, I would say, 5 months from April to September. It performed way above Nasdaq peak. But after that, things have kind of settled down, and the question is, why is Amazon in such a protracted period of almost 5 months in a sideways business? Also, the price has dropped from 3,554 all the way down to, I would say, 3,000. That is a drop of almost $500, which is equal to like 15-16%. It pierced through all the resistance levels. The support level, which was 1,000, here's the resistance level, it pierced through that one. Next, it pierced through the resistance level of 3,062. It has pierced through the 200-point average of $3,002, and it has made a recovery in the last 3 to 4 days. So what is the future of Amazon stock? Let's look at what is the future economic conditions in the United States in the coming months. More than half the states have opened up businesses 100%. So that is going to reduce some of the online business for all entities, not just Amazon. Number 2, even the cloud services may not to the maximum potential they were as people return to their full-time work and start working from their offices rather than using remote computing and using cloud spaces. That's my hypothesis. Given these things, there is not a big potential for Amazon to grow further than when things were back in like April, May, June until September. Number 2, of course, on February 16th, Nasdaq had a pretty significant drop where it lost more than 10% in the correction, and along with that, the Amazon stock was also dragged on top of what it had already gone through in the past 3 to 4 months. That is as far as where we were in April, where we were in September, and where we are today. Let's look at a little more technically and see what can we expect in the coming months. Let me pull this one here. And this is a daily chart, and I am going to take this Nasdaq off because it may throw things off. Here is our 6 months. Let me start off from a year and then back off. This is where we were in the previous slide, and this is where the correction started. It is going sideways for the most of the last 4 to 5 month period. So let us cut down the period to like 6 months, and then we'll see how we can. Okay, in the 6 months period, as I said, we are just going sideways here, and it is not going too many places. The trading opportunities for any stock or any other entity is to look at the technical indicators. Slow stochastic, when it is below the 20% band and the green, the short-term moving average crosses the long-term moving average, that's an opportunity to get into the market. And if you had gotten here, you had 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 days to make some profit. When it is at the top, as you can see, the stock price has consistently come down from here, all these places. And here it made a dip, and this was on March 5th. That's when the Nasdaq 100 triple Q hit the bottom and then turned around. As a result, we have seen some positive movement here in the last 3 to 4 days. Similarly, the RSI was also in the oversold situation here on March 5th, so it has made some upward movement. But for the most part, when the stock market is going sideways, a lot of these indicators cannot give strong signals for entry or exit. The only other time we had a strong entry signal from the slow stochastic was on, I'll tell you what day it was. This was on November 3rd when the lines crossed, and there you had a pretty good run here. 3 days you could have made some profit. But for the most part, even another signal here on December 11th, there was some potential to make some profit here. So those were like, in the last 5 months, we had like 1, 2, 3, 4 signals where you could have made some money. But as I said, when the market is consolidating, and this is the Bollinger Bands, when they are squeezing, there's not much juice left. So you want to be very careful when you trade these corrections, because the potential for profits is very limited. And here we have an impulse going downwards, that is a bearish impulse, as evidenced by all the prices piercing through the bottom band of the Bollinger Bands, and when they sort of tried to stabilize, that's when we saw the turning point for the upside. So that's where we are. As we stand today, all these indicators are in the middle, in the sense they are in no man's land. I think it's very hard to predict which way it is going to go. We have to just wait and see for better signals. The better signals points are like these. So in the future, if you are following Amzn or any other stock for that matter, I would use the slow stochastic and MACD. MACD also helps. Let's see if we can pinpoint. This is a good point where we can analyze. As you can see, when the MACD line crosses when the short period, the average crosses the MACD line, that's an indication to enter the market. But this is like a delayed indicator. Here, the stochastic already gave like 1 bar before or 1 day before, whereas by the time it comes here, you already missed half the movement in the stock. So that's not going to help. Similarly, RSI, you would like for it to come below the 30% line and cross the 30% line, and that's an indication to enter the market. So I'm just giving you some broad technical pointers for the future as when to enter a market. This applies not only to Amzn, it applies to any other stock, either from the S&P 500, Dow's, or Nasdaq. Also, it applies at various time intervals. I'm talking about daily. I'm going to show you a couple of examples on a 60-minute interval. So the point I would like to make is that let us study the technical analysis, because the technical analysis is the sum result of the fundamental analysis and the technical analysis that is being exercised by the brightest minds in the industry, the hedge fund managers, the money managers, the institutions, and all this, and they have put their money, they have bet their money. So let's go with the trend. Trend is our only friend, and money is the only thing that can help us to get in the market, and we need to preserve our money. So anytime we make a trade, a trailing stop must clearly define what our loss is going to be if we are on the wrong side of the trade, if we are on the wrong side of the money managers. So I would say just try to study the psychology of the money managers, the institutions, and the hedge fund managers, because they have all the resources to decide which they want to swing the market. And of course, this is also based on the Elliott wave phenomenon, which I don't want to get into. But looking at these graphs, if you create a chart like this and follow these stocks, and if you see a dip like this, especially if it comes down and crosses the 30% range, that's the time I would get into the market. And then once we have gotten into the market, let's say we get into the market here, I'm going to go into a 60-minute interval here. Let's go to 1 month. And as I said, this is where on March 5th we saw a bottom. And now you can see this RSI clearly went down. It came up and it crossed the 30% range. This is a strong signal for buying any stock, not just Amazon. And similarly, this has been also supported by the slow stochastic, where the green crossed over the yellow line. And you have the MACD, which is kind of a lazy boy, takes a couple of extra steps before it can give the signal. But here you have a triple signal. This is a very good place to enter the market. And also remember that there are also the Bollinger Bands, where the band changes the direction. As long as the dots are below the stock price and it continues that way, then you are in an uptrend. On the other hand, when the dots are above the stock prices, as long as they are above the stock price, the trend is in a downward direction. So these are some of the technical points that would enable us to become a better investor, because you want to make a point here and then you have to have an exit point. What is your exit point? My exit point would be 1, trailing stop sign, stop order. Number 2 would be to watch this more carefully, and if this were to hit something like this 80-90%, that's when we want to get out. When it doesn't go up, then you have to be careful, because if it's turning down before it hits 90 or 95, that means there is some correction going on. Then you have to have the stomach to hold your breath until the correction is over. But here the correction traced more than 50% of the upswing, but next day it opened like a sort of a Christmas gift. And that's when you want to decide if you want to get out. Okay, this is enough for this one stock, but I have done technical analysis for multiple stocks like GME, AMC, RKT, all of them, they all fall in the same category. So if you learn these technical analysis pointers, you can apply them to any stock that is in the MEMS cycle on any social media and see what is a good entry point. Let the technicals dictate your entry and exit points. Let the trend be your friend. And please do subscribe to this channel and let's be friends. I'll see you with another report next time.